and this is NutBallCop. Um, crazy news cycle. It is amazing how crazy things are getting. And again, if you actually read Project 2025, remember, I wrote an entire essay about it about 14 months, 16 months before the election. Okay. This is all planned. This is exactly what they wanted to do. This is exactly what they had written down for y'all. Um, is blitz the quarterback every play. If you yell a sentence, yell your next one louder. Okay. If you're a racist or you're a criminal, spin that around and just do a straw man attack on the person that just pointed out you're a racist or a criminal and call them a racist and a criminal. Ollie Ollie Oxen free, you win. So this is getting weird, but not surprised. Because that's what they wrote down. That's what they told you they were going to do. And this is what they're doing. Salute if you're having a happy hour cocktail. I am. Some Irish whiskey. Okay. First thing, inflation's heating up and it's about to eat us alive. Um, things are going to get bleak. I'm seeing stuff on the West Coast here just skyrocket all of a sudden. Olive oil, $26 a liter. That's a little expensive for mid-range stuff, not even the good, you know, imported Italian or Greek, small farm, small batch stuff. Prices are getting insane. Restaurant bills. Restaurant bills have to be up this summer another 20%. Okay. This is all going to lock up. This is all going to come crashing down. The inflation is tariffs. It's bad tax policy. It's letting festering problems go unsolved. It's all going to pile up on us, plus the bank bailouts, which we should have never done in the first place. Don't ever pay a reward to criminals for the crimes they created. That was a bad move. I think Labor Day, I thought it was going to be the 4th of July, but I think Labor Day is the implosion day. They've staved off as much as they can, but now businesses are openly complaining. Even what was it, Molson Coors? They're going, your prices of your products are all going to go way up because we can't afford the tariffs on this and the tariffs and that. Oh, and then you tariffed aluminum, which we need to make our beer cans. So everything is about to skyrocket. It's about to hit. Brace yourselves. Um, and realize, to use a Matrix reference here, um, look at the spoon, for Christ's sakes. There is no spoon. Okay. There is no peace deals. There are no trade deals. Okay. He is just bullshitting. He's getting up every morning, blitzing the quarterback, bullshitting the press. He has nobody there asking him critical questions anymore. Okay. Um, so they're just waking up and lying. He's going to do a land trade deal in Ukraine with Zelensky not there. It's not his land to deal. It's worse. It's not his to surrender. Okay. But he's going to Alaska thinking that he can apportion, trade, surrender. I don't care what you call it. He can do something that he has no purview, no authority to do. And he has zero authority to give away land in Ukraine. None whatsoever. Okay. The trade deals are not trade deals. And that's coming from the economists I'm watching, because they're looking at things like the Japan and the EU trade deals, and they're like, okay, the Japan deal is a framework at best with no details and a reciprocal 15% tariff. Okay. Deals aren't deals till they're done and signed. This whole thing where we're going to market deals that aren't there because you're such an asshole when it comes to tariffs. Nobody is going to sitting down and doing a real deal with you, so you're just bullshitting us. Okay, I saw economist on CNBC. It was like literally going, "What the fuck you think you're pulling?" Okay. Oh, and besides the fact, I mentioned Mr. Global again. Yeah, go watch his channel again. Don't stop watching mine, but go watch Mr. Global, especially when he's talking about how in just 2 trade deals with the EU and Japan, Trump has sold off 140% of our total exports in natural gas. So he's signing trade deals which are impossible to fulfill. Yet another problem with his bullshit deals, his bullshit non-deals. Okay. Um, so if you don't have trade deals, you don't have peace deals, you have authoritarian motions all over the board. The economy is not safe. The economy has nowhere to go but down. And inflation may hit a point where, like, okay, let's say you did go ahead and you decided the 140% of energy you want to sell off to other countries was there and you could do it. Okay. Every unit of energy you sell off overseas, that is a unit of cheap energy not available to make electricity for people's homes. So the more you export, the more home electricity prices go up. And they don't want you putting solar panels on your house anymore. They want you paying your ever increasing utility bill. Okay. I've been hit by some increases, especially the way they run the grid tie-in and the buyback. But yeah, as prices go higher and higher, um, my ROI on my solar panels, my 10.2 kilowatt hours of solar panels, is going up and up and is getting better and better. But of course, with the new big bad bankruptcy bill, ugly bankruptcy bullshit bill, um, your energy cost is going to go nowhere but up, because unless you're really wealthy, you're not going to be able to afford to do solar or like ranch or farm wind or something like that. It's not going to be there for you. Okay, what's going to be there for you is a leech of a utility who's going to be a bloodsucker on your budget for the rest of your life. Uh, Places like New England, which is baselined natural gas, they're in for utility bills that are as um, high as their rent or mortgages. You're heading for 4-digit utility bills already. You sell off all our natural gas, which isn't physically possible, what they're talking about right now. But let's say for counterfactual hypothesis reasons that, oh yeah, they can sell off more natural gas than we can actually pump out of the ground and ship through pipelines and get on tankers and move. Okay. Um, if you weren't already facing huge electricity bills already, you're going to, after, if any semblance of these trade bills are true, which we don't know yet because they're not actual deals yet. um, if they go down like what they're trying to market, then homeowners and renters are in serious problem come with their electricity bill, because the more natural gas you sell off, the less cheap natural gas. Remember, they called it Americans' energy solution, fracking. You know whose energy solution it ended up being? The Chinese and the Germans. Now, should we be selling natural gas to Germany? Absolutely yes. Should we be selling it to China? Absolutely no. Okay. But the world spot price is so much higher for a unit of natural gas than the domestic price. Yeah, they want to ship it off and make more money, and that's what they're doing. And they're making money by making your home electricity bill higher, and not by a little, but by a lot. And if this goes through and they sell off those energy therms and those units offshore at a bigger scale than they're doing now, you have nowhere to but go up in your utility bills. Okay, food prices are going to go up, cars are going to go up, computer chips, computer PCs are going to more than double. I just built my new ultra high performance workstation, and I mean it's a monster machine. It's like a $7,000 build. Um, my everything all in one workstation that I always build. With an RTX 5090 in it, biggest consumer video card you can get, 128 gigabytes of RAM. If these tariffs kick in with these 100% computer chip tariffs, that $7,000 box would have been closer to $13,000-14,000, all said and done. Because like the motherboard is massive. A good motherboard, $200. This killer, crazy, totally tunable monster motherboard I bought was $748. So yeah, all the parts were already super elite parts, and they are all set to at least double or more. Because remember, when they say 100% tariffs, they're not talking about doubling the consumer price. They're talking about more than doubling the consumer price. Okay, because the vendors, the sellers, are going to going to mark up and sell based on margins, not by empirical price. Okay, they want to keep their margin. So if they were making 22% before, they want to make 22% after the tariffs. So instead of the price going up 100% because the tariff went up 100%, you're going to get 100% plus their margin increase. So it's always going to hit you really hard and a little bit more than you think. Uh, um, the switching topics, going to the ICE recruiting, which I did in another video. It's a complete joke. This is how you get the Miami River cops. This is how you get homicide suspects with a badge, is doing recruiting like this. We've already proven that out several times. But now, as I guess, as a retort against the criticism, and I guess sort of retort against South Park, they're now embracing white nationalism as a recruiting tool. Defend your culture, the online ad said. Defend your culture. Okay. I was a cop for 14 years, military, police, and civilian peace officer. Okay. What the fuck does defend your culture mean when it comes to law enforcement? I didn't defend anybody's culture. Okay. It's not my job. Defend your culture. Okay. Oh, what is that from? That's literally from the concerned citizen councils all the way to the white prison gangs like Aryan Nation. This is white nationalist speak, and they're using it intentionally. They're using it very specifically, very purposefully, to let you know that this is the white power crowd with a badge. Okay. Um, After defend your culture, how many, I don't know, how many immigrant Arabs are you going to see in ICE defending their culture? Zero. Zero. Who's going to be defending their culture? The same ones who've been running around claiming they're being outbred. Okay. This is nativism, nationalism on steroids. It's stupid. And speaking of stupid things, I read an article. This was a couple of days ago. I had a whole bunch of things jotted down I want to talk about. And one of the things I put a little note on here was, I guess Trump or one of his minions said they were going to use the police or the military to do genital inspections at the Olympics. I don't want to really go down this road, but this whole genitalia obsession, that somehow the real crime problem is with this random population edge case where a dude in a dress may use a woman's restroom. That is the biggest crime they can think of, because they don't want to think about the crimes that would be documented if, I don't know, Epstein didn't stop breathing and ended up in a courtroom spilling his guts to try to save his own ass. Okay. The obsession with the genitalia by these right wingers is now a mental health issue for them. I could not imagine spending my days trying to figure out whose genitalia is what and how it should be criminally enforced. Okay, defending your culture, I don't know how you enforce that. I don't know how you enforce, outside of some really limited circumstances, like sometimes you have to know about the genitalia, like in custodial environments. I remember more than once, detention officers would be booking somebody who's of an alternative sexual lifestyle or whatever. And, you know, uh, basically it's a dude in a dress. And we're like, no, we're not going to put you in the tank because I don't want to fight to start. But I need to know for the booking and for the health records that are required by state law for us to obtain, and so we can provide you safe housing in this facility, um, in the city jail. Um, I remember more than once detention officers having to ask suspects who are being booked, "Do you have a penis or not?" Because that will determine where we put you. No, we're not putting you in general pop in the main tank because a fight will start. Okay. Nor are we putting you in the female cell where you could reach out and grab a female. No, we're not going to do that. We will put you in one of the isolated cells away from other people. Okay. And I was saying shit back decades ago. I said most modern custodial environments are not built properly. There's no accounting for a third sex scenario. Okay. And you can sit there and deny that thing exists because you believe in Jesus. That doesn't mean anything in the real world. When people walk around and they do exist and they do live here, and it is our job when they're in custody in a city jail or a county jail, that we afford them proper conditions and safety. And I think having a segregated, quote unquote, third sex area of the jail, I think would go a long way to making sure that everybody in custody is safe. Okay. Because back in my day, an in custody death or even an in custody major injury or something, that was a huge deal. The deaths were incredible. That's a coroner's inquest. I wouldn't even want to be involved in one of those. But I mean, that's not only, I mean, outside of a genuine medical situation, you know, um, even for the Olympics, I mean, if there's a question, there are doctors that can handle this, civilian doctors. You do not need to involve the government. These can be contracted civilian doctors who work for the International Olympic Committee. Okay, for you to want to go in there and go, we're going to take over. We're going to take over the genital testing. Mm, mm, because that's our fetish, genital testing. How do you go through your life so that freaking worried about somebody else's little bits or what they do in their bedroom? I don't even care what my straight friends do. Like at work, this hasn't happened in a while, but I remember my early days. Tech guys would be sitting around the coffee machine talking about their conquest this weekend, and I'm like, I do not give a flying fuck. Shut up. Okay. There's two people's sex lives I'm actually concerned about, mine and my wife's. Other than that, I'm not really concerned. Really don't care. How you make it one of the biggest things ever in your life, this is dysfunctional. It's nuts. Why? And thinking that everything needs a military solution is also cray cray. I mean, every time you don't like something, you're going to roll out a tank. You're going to roll out some people in battle jammies with carbines, and they're going to go carbines and go light some neighborhoods up because you're not comfortable with something. I'm not exactly comfortable with people insane enough to actually believe angels exist. Okay, or believe that like Satan is real. No. You literally believe those things? They're not metaphorical lessons for life. Hey, I don't like that, but I've never once said, hey, let's deploy a tank because I'm not comfortable with people who have delusional thoughts and think angels are real because they're not. I don't see any reason to go mental and demand force be used. That's freaking insane, man. Um, Staying on law enforcement. Um, do you know how ridiculous it is to have DE agents and FBI agents walking foot patrol in Washington, D.C. today? You know how stupid that is? Okay, because if you think a DEA agent knows how to be a beat cop, or vice versa, okay, without the proper training and experience, you would be highly incorrect, or you'd be a fucking moron, like any member of this current administration, any current Goomba in the nationalist regime trying to take places hostage. Okay, when I saw the picture of 5 DE agents walking down the street in level 4 bulletproof vests, okay, on walking patrol in the park, and I was just like, you got to be fucking kidding me. Do you have any, okay, you have any fucking clue how different the two jobs are? Okay, most people don't know. Okay, you don't go to the DEA Academy or the U.S. Marshals Academy to learn how to be a beat cop. You go to the local police academy to learn how to be a beat cop because they're two different jobs. Same job field, totally different jobs. Okay. How do I know this? When I was a sergeant and an MP, I was on a DEA task force. Okay. I actually worked with the DEA. I've worked with the FBI. Okay. Doing the work in CID or FBI or DEA is akin to any other position in law enforcement, sure. But if you think like you can literally just drag and drop FBI agents say, oh, here, you handle this beach in Chicago Saturday morning. No, no, that's absurd. Okay. It's the same reason why sending the fucking Marines. Okay. I love my Marines. I just hate to send what we, I hate what we have to send them to do. That's my only problem. I had this conversation with a bunch of SEALs and Marine RDF guys at a veterans events over Scotch one night, over in the city. And I told all the Marines, really do. I love you guys. You know, thank you for your sacrifice because I know you guys are the tip of the spear. But yeah, it doesn't mean I agree with the foreign policy. It doesn't mean I agree with the violence for violence sake or anything like that. Um, moving the Marines into LA, okay, that's not Marines' job. That's not a combat brigade's job. Okay. Could you supplement the local police with like some Marine military police or Army military police from the National Guard or even the main military? Sure. Okay. Because at least, the MPs have some actual patrol training. Okay. But just like picking FBI agents out of wherever, an office, a lab, uh, 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 you know, uh, a local operation where they're working a task force, you know, and just saying to them is like, okay, you're now a beat cop in a city. That doesn't make any sense. Straight out crazy. Does not compute. And how is the FBI and the DEA going to solve homelessness, which suddenly is Trump's concern? No, no. His concern is he's a wealthy billionaire. He doesn't like looking at the pores, so he just wants them removed. Okay, that's what the National Guard's going to do, probably. And this whole thing where you're sending in the National Guard, the FBI, the DA, and whoever else, fucking Mr. Magoo going too. Okay. Crime again for the 1,000th fucking time is not at an all-time high, you lying nationalist bastards. The crime is not high right now in Washington, D.C. It's not crime high, it's not crime in Chicago. We had a bit of an uptick in the lockdowns because everybody went cray-cray because they got put in their houses and their apartments and it turned into their little county jails. Okay? People went a little nutty. And if you think they went nutty here, man, you should read how nutty they went in France and other places. Okay? So crime did tick up. It went right back down after the lockdowns opened up. Last crime spike we actually fucking had, according to the data. Look it up yourselves. Bureau of Justice Statistics.gov, BJS.gov, okay? Or UCR under the FBI.gov, okay? I think I have a census. I had a census key, both those keys, and a social security key. I think I should make sure those all still work. But anyways, I've downloaded the data talking about crime and crime patterns and things like that before. Crime is not at an all-time high. That's facile and stupid. It's absurd. Right now, crime is at a 30-year low. If you look at, even if you take into account that bump during the lockdown, the COVID lockdown. Okay, last crime spike we had was 1992. And if you think crime was high now or 92, you should go back and look at the per capita rates from the 1970s. Holy shit. Okay. My theorem, and I've had this for many years, is it was the lead paint. We were creating criminal tards left and right with the lead in the environment. Because we started cleaning the lead out of the environment, crime plummeted. Would love to study that officially one day, because I think that is a thing. I think it's at least a good hypothesis to research. But yeah, 70s, like it was crazy compared to even the 90s. But let's take 90s. Somebody pulled all the UCR data for New York City and compared it to the comp stat in New York City. Okay, leaving juking the stats aside for a moment. If you looked at the 92 stats, let's take burglaries in New York City, 92 stat versus the 2022 stat. How much did burglary rates fall in New York City? They fell because it got rid of shitty one-trip logic alarms, and we've gone to smart cameras, smarter alarm systems, better neighborhood cooperation. That's how we dealt with our burglary problem here. Neighbors started to talk to each other. So between 92 and 2022, the burglary rate in New York City fell 82%. So if burglary is down by that incredible margin, how is crime at, quote, an all-time high? Because if you listen to any right-winger, crime is at an all-time high. Every day they talk about it. Did you see how high the crime was yesterday? The crime will be higher today. That's what I need to tell you, because we're the nationalist and we're just going to tell you anything you want to hear to be scared, to be afraid, to live in fear, and to give them more power. Okay? So this whole crime shtick, crime is, oh my God, out of control all across the country. Ah! Well, actually, the highest crime rates are in the red states with the loosest gun laws. You want the most violent crime? Go to a red county with shitty gun laws and low education rates, high teen pregnancy rates, low health care, low income. Boom. There's your violent center, America, right there. Okay? Everywhere else, crime's going down. And it's provably going down. Okay? So this whole thing where you're going to go, oh, I'm going to solve I'm going to solve burglaries and aggravated assaults and carjackings by making DEA agents walk foot patrol in the park. What the fuck? This is not how any of this shit works, people. Okay. Having done both jobs, working with the DEA and being a beat cop, what they're doing is fucking ridiculous. It's beyond the pale of stupid. There's a con here. You got to look behind the curtain. They wouldn't be trying to distract you if they weren't hiding something behind the curtain. And the sudden thing, well, the homeless, the homeless, the homeless. Well, I thought you said San Francisco was the only place with a homeless problem. Now it turns out there's a pretty vicious homeless problem that's about as retractable as it is here, but it's in Washington, D.C., and you're now just getting right into it 5 years after being in power? Wow. Okay. Well, you did say, and you said this very clearly, and the goons on Fox News repeated it for you on every show nightly. The homeless problem is San Francisco. San Francisco is a mismanaged blue city that's dying on the vine because we don't have troops in the street. We don't have Elon Musk making all the decisions for the city. And we have not given up our rights under the 10th Amendment as a state. But the DC homeless problem doesn't come to a surprise. Twice in the last couple of years, I've had to drive across the country. And there is a couple of cities I can report from personal observation, Salt Lake City, Utah being one of them, has a far worse homeless problem than Oakland or San Francisco. Far worse. I could not believe, even seeing the shit here, I could not believe the homeless problem in Salt Lake City. Okay. And I saw it all over the country. Okay. Even places like Bloomington, Indiana. Two fucking heroin addicts passed out on the sidewalk. I mean, literally passed out. I stopped to check to make sure they were breathing and alive. Okay. That's how down for the count they were. I actually, yeah, he's breathing. Yeah, he's got a pulse. Whack on the forehead. Okay. He's alive. Don't know what else I can do for him, but he's alive. Okay. So I saw it everywhere I traveled. Okay. So the DC homeless problem comes as zero surprise. But it's amazing when they have terrible problems, when it's right under their nose. Remember, Mike Johnson has the power, even with home rule in Washington, D.C. Mike Johnson has the power to change every law they want to or nullify any law they want to in the District of Columbia. Okay. There is a mayor and a city council, but they can be overridden by Congress. Okay. By the way, I never mentioned they could be overridden by the president because they can't. So Congress already has total authority, even with home rule in Washington, D.C. So why didn't Mike Johnson do anything? Why didn't Mitch McConnell do anything? Your literal Congress is the literal viceroy of D.C. You waited till now to do something? Oh, that's how many times Dear Leader Pornstar Humper is in the Epstein files. He's in the Epstein files so often, you have to use the homeless as another distraction across your dozen or so distractions you've already got running. Got it. Got it. Fuck. Oh, I gotta have some whiskey before I go down on this one. This is very related to ICE defender culture, FBI and DEA beat cops. Hold on a second. And I mean this from the bottom of my Irish heart. Dean Cain, you lonesome piece of shit, fuck off and die. Okay. First of all, You're a 60 fucking year old man like me. You have no law enforcement experience. And you gonna put on your battle jammies and pose with cosplay and Christy Gnome and you're gonna become a cop? Dean Cain, you're an asshole. You're an idiot. You should fuck off and flush your head in the toilet. You're a goddamn moron. Opposing fucking idiot. Okay? Um, Dean Cain is gonna get a badge. Why not Bozo the fucking clown? Okay? I got a homeless guy that lives in the woods down the hill. His name is Mark. How we give him a badge, a federal badge too? Nice guy, Mark. He just likes living in the woods for some reason. He's one of our cleanless homeless guys. He mistakes bath in the river. That's my guess. Um, Dean Cain's going to get a fucking job in ICE. This is the guy who played Superman. You know, the illegal alien who came from another planet with no paperwork. Superman was an illegal alien. The guy who plays Superman wants to become a nationalist Goomba cop. Fuck off, Dean Cain. Just fuck off. And what's the sad thing is, there's real police that are getting bounced out of their jobs. One of the big, I think he's top 4 or 5 at the FBI, Brian Driscoll. Massive resume as a special agent and a federal agent. He was on HRT, the hostage rescue team, which is pretty elite. It's one of the best special weapons team, law enforcement teams in the world. He went into the bunker. I think it was that Kentucky, where the guy had the kid hostage in the bunker. He went number 1 to the door to go get that guy and rescue the kid out of there. Whole bunch of work in Africa, anti-terrorism. The guy's got a resume that goes on and on and on and on and on. Plus, he looks like, Captain Jack Sparrow's cousin. He does. He looks like kind of like a gypsy. The guy's an amazing resume. He's being forced out of the FBI. And everything I read is that guy Driscoll is real police. There's not many real police left. There's going to be a lot of them, so few of them after this bullshit. Dean Cain's going to get a federal badge. Yeah! And I thought Steven Seagal being a deputy sheriff was fucking dumb. Because that boy is crazy. That boy is 5150, not 5149.5. He's straight up 5150. Dean Cain. I'm so right wing, I need to go get myself a nationalist mob job. This is so stupid. I mean, and you notice, like, Dean Cain wasn't like Pat Tillman and his brother. Okay? Pat Tillman gave up a football contract, millions of dollars a year, okay, to join the Army Rangers with his brother, okay, to fight people who were really fucking dangerous, okay? Warlords, the Taliban, the terrorists, the cray-crays. Not the, who did I see yesterday? The 67-year-old Mexican grandmother making tamales. Oh my God. We're all safe now. We're all hungry because the good tamales are gone. Fucking assholes. By the way, don't buy tamales unless you're getting them from a Mexican grandmother. They suck otherwise. My married side is part German and part Mexican. So we had a wonderful Mexican grandma around with us for many, many, many years, Grandma Sally, and she used to make all this home cooked Mexican food, which was some of the best food I've ever had in my life. And I never even liked tamales before she made them. And I was like, oh, this is what a real tamale tastes like. Wow, those are great. Yeah, so they arrested the tamale lady because, tamales will make America bad again, or Hitler didn't like tamales. I don't know what the story is, but I'm sure it's something stupid. Okay, you notice they want to go after grandma, tamale grandma. They don't want to go into a village in Afghanistan, with a rifle on fully automatic and hoping the hell you make it back to your base that night. Dean Cain is going to get in back of that armored police tank, dressed up in his battle jammies, sitting next to Christy Nome and the white Nazi princess as they do social media influencing. Dean Cain, fuck off. You'll never be a real cop. Okay, you're barely a real man. Punk. They never supported cops anyways. None of these right wingers, none of these nationalists, they hate the cops. They hate law and order because they are the criminals. Okay, they are a street gang. I keep telling you that they are a street gang. They operate like a street gang. Okay, there's so little difference between the Crips and the Bloods and the Serenos and the Norteños, or the Hells Angels and the Trumpian gang that's posing as a regime. Yeah, these guys are the criminals. They hate the police. So was I surprised when I read the article that the anti-vaxxer who thought the COVID vaccine gave him depression? So we decided to go murder a cop at the CDC building at Emory University down in Atlanta. Thin blue line, huh? Support the police. Okay, you feed a guy lies from a guy who's a complete the roid-addled heroin addict came up with a conspiracy theory to celebritize himself and make a little money as an ambulance chasing lawyer. You sold that to a point where a guy picked up a gun and blamed everything wrong in his fucking life on a shot. Then he kills a cop. And then you just, again, shrug your shoulders. Just like when the cops got hurt and committed suicide after the insurrection. You just shrug. Nah, not our problem. Wait a minute, I thought you were all thin blue lines, support the police, da 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 da. Well, in the end, you're not. You're not. You hate the cops. Like every other street gang in the world hates the cops. But this is what happens when you have criminal regimes that get in power. This story has already been told. This history book has already been written. Okay. Once they get it in their fucking head that they can get away with a crime because they control the system, the crime never stops. Look at Saddam Hussein, Muammar Gaddafi, Idi Amin, Slobodan Milosevic, Ceausescu, Hoxha. Okay? All 20th century dictator assholes who in the end were just goddamn criminals. Go back and watch Monuments Men. My father-in-law, the Green Beret, loves that movie. We watch it on the holidays. He loves it because he loved their duty. He goes, I had a completely different duty. I blew shit up as a Green Beret. That was my thing. But he goes, they had an important duty. They had the important duty to protect history and antiquity. What was the Nazis' mission? To rob it all. Okay? Steal everything. And if it's nailed down, go get a crowbar, pry that thing up, and steal it and get it on the truck. It's just these authoritarian movements throughout history have just been a gang of thieves. Okay? So don't tell me that some white nationalist fucking homie in a street gang loves the cops. That's not true. And by the way, let's stop this whole thing like everybody loves the cops all of a sudden on the right. Bullshit. Nobody likes the cops. Everybody likes firemen. We used to joke at the club on a Monday night after the ladies' night when all the guys showed up and they were all drunk, thinking all the girls were all excited. We were going there and hit on chicks, and of course, fights started all the time. And it's like the crowd be really rowdy, and we're going, "Hey, should we call the fire trucks? Get a couple of fire engine here." Everyone likes firemen. They hate us, but firemen are cool. Um, Nobody likes the cops. When I'm up at some rich guy's fucking 6-bedroom fucking mansion overlooking the ocean, and he just popped his wife in the mouth, okay, and she's got a swollen lip and blood running out of the corner of her mouth, and you got to turn around him and you announce to him he's under arrest for domestic violence, felonious domestic violence. You think he loves the cops? You think he supports the thin blue line? No, no. Okay, when you pull over the businessman because he's driving 45 miles an hour the wrong way on a two-lane one-way street, the opposite direction, the speed limit's 25, but he never saw the stop signs because he was looking at the back. I mean, the speed limit signs because he was looking at the backs of them going the wrong way. You pull him over and he takes one look at you, knowing that this is going to be his fourth DUI. You think he sits there and he gets out of the car, starts reciting Thin Blue Line? No, he does not. No, he does not. Okay. Just because you're rich and white and conservative does not mean you love the cops. And nobody loves the cops when you're the one being arrested. Okay. I had to deal with an actual friend of the sheriff who thought his shit didn't stink and he had an arrest warrant out. And I'm like, I don't care if you're friends with the sheriff, you're neighbors with the sheriff, or you just got done blowing the sheriff. You have a $7,500 warrant. You are getting booked tonight, and unless you post that $7,500 in cash or through a bondsman, you are going to go to county court tomorrow morning, and you're going to go see the judge who issued that bench warrant for you. I don't care. Okay. Do you think he liked the cops that night? No, he didn't. He swore at me all the way to jail in the car, all the way through booking, and told me to go fuck off and die as they escorted him into the tank and shut the door behind him. Chink. Yeah, he was so happy with the police. Huge police supporter. Okay. And if he wasn't getting popped, and he was at the fundraiser for the sheriff's posse, in the spring, yeah, I'm sure at the event drinking beer, he loves the cops, fried chicken, fried steak and potatoes, bunch of booze, out in the park and raising money and doing fundraising and doing a fundraising, fake casino for the search and rescue team or whatever. Yeah, I'm sure, on that day he supported the police. The night he's getting arrested on a $7,500 warrant, he ain't loving the cops. Okay? So stop with this whole thing that, oh my God, we're the nationalist right and we love the police. No, you didn't love the police and you hated them so much, you supported Trump pardoning every one of their insurrectionists who attacked the police. So that's a complete fantasy that really needs to be shut down. And this is a total tangent, but I still have this written down on my notepad here, and I wanted to make a comment here. And it goes, it is tied about having a criminal regime being in political power. Dear leader's regime is a criminal regime. Bibi Netanyahu's regime in Israel is also a criminal regime. Maybe not for the same reasons that the lefties talk about all the time, but I'm talking about, yeah, the guy's been indicted so many times. He's making, black rappers in the 90s look innocent. That's what I'm saying. Okay. It's a criminal regime. And what his quote unquote war policy is not a war policy. It is a keep Bibi in power policy that prevents him from ending up any day in court on a whole list of issues, including all the corruption he's already been indicted for. So his answer to staying out of prison and staying out of the courtroom for corruption is to be in a continuous emergency and be continuously at war. What is Dear Leader Pornstar Stumper? What is Dear Leader Pornstar Humper doing here in America? He's declaring emergencies city by city to be a distraction from the fact he is a criminal. He is reportedly, according to numerous reports, all over the Epstein list. Therefore, someone could reasonably infer he is a criminal pedophile and a rapist. Okay? So you create emergencies to distract away from that. Bibi has taken up the same playbook. Okay, what was that movie? about the dictatorship in Paraguay, moon over Paraguay, I think it was, where they had the red party and the blue party and they kept switching. Oh, we have to have an enemy. Well, and what's really bothering me is all dictators act the same because they're all criminals. But what's bothering me in BB's case is BB still has hostages in Gaza. He doesn't seem to give a fuck about the hostages whatsoever. Not in the least bit. Okay. Dead hostages can be the excuse for another operation or yet another invasion. Or what they're planning now as a fuck you to the rest of the free world is we're simply going to occupy and empty Gaza. Okay. Well, mine and many other people's reading of the Second Geneva Conventions, a forced military expulsion of a civilian populace is in fact a war crime. And if they're resorting to war crimes, never mind unconstitutionality and federal and state statute violations to stay in power, but now they're going to war crimes to stay in power, you've lost me. So as long as BB's in charge in Israel, I don't give a fuck anymore about Israel. Okay. You're not fighting a war to determine the war's end. You're fighting the war so certain people stay in political power. One is self-defense. One is the ultimate corruption. And that's where you've landed. You've landed in the ultimate. We need the war, just like Dear Leader needs the call to all-time high crime and violence. We need a threat. We need you to be scared. We need you to live in fear. So you will give me more and more and more and more political power so I can stay out of jail, including potentially being in jail at The Hague in the International Crimes Court. Remember how the right wingers suddenly decided they hated the ICC? This is why. Because when they wrote the notes that became the outline and then the paper at Project 2025, they knew they were going to support some war crimes. They knew they were going to be supporting some human rights crimes. That was part of the plan. Okay. Because BB is the greatest foil for Dear Leader right now. Ah, see what happens when you let the bad guys get away with everything. Now it's worse today than it was yesterday. Remember what I said about crime? Crime was bad yesterday. It's going to be worse today. It's going to be even worse tomorrow. It's going to be even worse next Monday, next month, next year. It's always downhill. You always have to be living in a continuous fear. Why? Because the guy in charge is a corrupt motherfucker who needs to stay in power. And he's going to stay in power by staying out of a courtroom and staying out of jail. Okay. I think they've literally written off the hostages because if the hostages come out of those tunnels dead, it's an excuse to continue it at a higher level, at a faster pace. And then in the end, it wraps up, well, see, you need me in charge for the rest of my life because I'm the only one that can depopulate Gaza. Here in America, I'm the only one that can protect you from crime. I'm the only one that can protect you from fentanyl. Okay. Now, it's amazing how all this effort is going into Washington, D.C. when the crime rate is at a 30-year low. You see how suddenly fentanyl at the border is that was everything before the election. Fentanyl border, fentanyl border, fentanyl border, fentanyl border, fentanyl border, fentanyl border, fentanyl border. I mean, they just wouldn't shut the fuck up about fentanyl on the border. Now it's homelessness and crime in Washington, D.C. Hup, hup, squirrel, squirrel. This is their method. This is what they do. And it's not BB, it's not Dear Leader, it's dictator. People who grab a hold of power and only want more power. Because with power comes privilege and a lot of time money. Okay. And now that Dear Leader has set up his perfect payola system, a meme coin, Who knows out of Israel, Mexico, Russia, China is dumping money into that meme coin every morning? We have no idea. Okay. So, yeah. So when it comes to Israel, like I've seen the dark side of the world more than I wanted to ever see it. Like even my wife knows, and she's told her friends. She goes, "Yeah." He goes, "After 14 years, he's a different person." Yeah, being in these jobs and working undercover and dealing with these high level criminals and high level threats, it changes you forever. And I know there are bad actors in the world, and I know Hamas and Hezbollah are some of the worst people on planet Earth. Okay, um, but nothing justifies the political scheming and the political power playing that's going on by Bibi and his crew in Israel right now. So, um, the old Bin Laden desk chief at CIA, what was his name? Michael Schumer, something like that. He said in the congressional hearing, right in the middle of the Senate, people like, oh, he just said, well, if it was up to me, I'd throw Israel to the curb tomorrow morning. I think I'm there. You can prosecute any war you think you can legally get away with in your region, or with another nuclear armed power, or with the ICC. You do whatever you're going to do. It's not going to be done at our cost. Whether it's in political capital, world relationships, or actual dollars. Because this is another thing that I'm getting sick and tired of, and I've been sick and tired of this practically my whole adult life, is American politicized Christianity spends a lot of time hating on Jews. But this bullshit of the rapture, which is not even in the Bible, it was made up by a preacher, Reverend James Dowd in England in the 1800s. The rapture isn't anywhere in the books. Okay. But American politicized mega preacher, TV preacher types all believe that they're going to return to Israel and they're going to go to heaven with 144,000 Jews. Why a gross times 1,000? I don't know. I don't know what Dad was thinking when he made up the story. But he made up the story. He was talking to a Scottish girl that was having visions. No, she was probably having an epileptic seizure. Um, so they think that Israel is their religious savior place, that Jesus will only come to Temple of the Mount or somewhere else, and he'll appear and he'll only take American politicized Christians and 144,000 Jewish nationalists who I guess have surrendered or bowed down to the American Christians. Because I looked it up. There's like 10 million people in Israel. You're only going to take a gross time 1,000 with you? When Gabriel sounds the horn? You are mean, evil, selfish people. Because if Israel was your homeland and your gateway to the pleasant eternity, why aren't you taking all the people who's been taking care of that land for you for all this time? But that's not the story you go by, is it? So you most of the far right groups are anti-Semitic, but they, they all love Israel. I wrote a whole essay about that. That's way back I started writing a couple of years ago here in Substack. But yeah, they love Israel, and it's for a really weird reason. It's for the rapture. Okay. And it's the rapture is the only reason why we're spending so much money on another criminal regime overseas. Then I say, fuck it. Kick them to the curb, pull their money. I don't care. They can go beg France or India for weapons and ammo. I don't think they're gonna get it from either one of them. But I don't see why I have to pay for this shit. Especially when you don't have any interest in winning the war, because the war itself is your political ace in the hole right now. The longer you get to play out this war in Gaza, and then the war in West Bank. Because if they take Gaza, they're going to take the West Bank. If there's anything left they don't hold in the Golan Heights, they're going to take that too. Okay. Now, where are these people going to go? I don't know. El Salvador to Sikot, to a tiny African kingdom with a corrupt king? Where do you stick millions of Gazans after you invade and control and evacuate the zone? Because even if you evacuate part of Gaza, you're talking anywhere from hundreds of thousands to 1 million people that still are going to be displaced. How the fuck is this going to work? It's not a solution in reality. Okay, Egypt's not going to fucking take them. Saudi Arabia's not going to be paying for the shit or taking them. UAE wants nothing to do with it. So what the hell is this plan? Oh, the plan is keep the criminal regime in power. Because the second they lose power, they could end up in court. So this is where we are. I don't want anything to do with Israel anymore. Again, that's not an anti-Semitic statement at all. Has nothing to do with religion, other than the tie-in to religion I just talked about with the rapture and American politicized Christianity. American politicized Christianity. It's a statement about political policy, not religion. It's about a statement about the responsibilities of a nation state and the leadership of the nation state, which is being abdicated in Israel right now. Okay. And I try to keep very informed about what's going on. Like I said, a couple of live videos before, I've been reading a more left-leaning Israeli paper and a more right-leaning paper, and I try to get in 2 or 3 days, of reading, figure out what's going on, especially internally. What are people in their parliament, the Knesset, doing and saying? What the backlash is or the support is in their own society. Um, and I just seen this whole situation under Bibi's horrible leadership. Uh, Incompetent, self-serving leadership. I don't see him prosecuting the war for anything other than his own purposes and his own political power now. So, and that's a huge change for me. That's probably, like that essay I wrote about, how you figure things out for yourself so you can change your mind based on, real information, data, real morals and ethics. It's how I changed from being 100% in favor of the death penalty to 100% against the death penalty. Because once I looked at the data, the case law, the statistics, the death penalty doesn't even make any sense once you have all the data in front of you. It doesn't even remotely make sense across the board, legally, financially, morally, ethically, just across the board. It sucks. Okay. Israel is one of those things where I had to do a lot of reading, had to get a lot more information, understand what is outside of that normal bubble that you're given as the main lead story in a situation. And I'm seeing way too many parallels between Bibi, Dear Leader Porn Star Humper, Orban, Bolsonaros. I'm seeing crooks want to be crooks, and crooks want to be in power because it's the easiest way to stay out of jail. And there doesn't seem to be the political emphasis and motivation inside of Israel, just like there's none here in America, to deal with the criminal element in charge, to make things right, to be able to conduct governance in a fair, lawful, ethical, and moral sense. I think there's no moral and ethics in dear leaders' decision making. And I think that's also true when it comes to Netanyahu. So, just in case I didn't make that point clearer earlier, fuck off, Dean Cain, you worthless little man. Until next time, think about it.